Water in the city, rushing to me. Down upstream, are you with me? Under rainbow, water in the city, rushing to me. Down upstream, are you with me? Feeling
Hi, I'm Michael Owen and I'm thrilled to join Weeks as their global brand ambassador. In football, success comes from precision, speed and strategy. Every move matters. With 1,000 plus trading pairs, you can trade spot, futures and more. And security? Weeks leads the way with Plus, a 1,000 Bitcoin protection fund. Join me on Weeks, where new wealth is made.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Adrian Zdunchuk, CMT Charter Market Ignition. This is the second day of our 7th edition of Trading Congress. Time flies super fast, and market flies along with it. And we are here joined today by a personality of a very high caliber, of a very big caliber. Privately, my very good friend, a person who I truly admire, a person who's been here in the space, proven so many times that he's the one, that he's the worthy, that he's the person who's literally able to lead the armies. And I wish I could say that about everybody in the space, but it doesn't happen too often that you see a strong leader like that. And I mean it. I know him enough to an extent that I know that it's true. And he's gonna show up a lot of things, and we're gonna be having Fefe on the show. However, before we get into the very details, I want to also welcome everybody who's watching this from all around the world. This is the 7th edition again of a virtual trading bootcamp that is designed to help you get you back on the feet basically after recent market turmoil. It's been absolute carnage, absolute hardships, lots of headwinds, and lots of unpredictability which honestly, have impacted a lot of people negatively. And now we are doing all of this with incredible brains joined together, such as Fefe, our today's guest, to help it up a little bit, help you bring a little bit more clarity into the market. So we have this full spotlight as well for our incredible partners and sponsors at Ajax, at Weeks. Incredible people. I know them in private as well. Incredible service. And they are our partners and sponsors for this edition of Trading Congress. Without further ado, Fefe, my friend, how are you doing, brother?
Brother, it's this is the best introduction I've ever received. But I just want to tell you, it's an amazing opportunity to be back here. Last year was amazing. I just love you, man. Like, I love your energy. I love how humble you are. I love the way you run this whole thing. It's just incredible. It's just incredible. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to make this happen.
Oh man, thank you so much, and I'm learning so much from you. Don't even know that. It's for everybody who's, like I said, who's not familiar with Fefe. Of course, I'd love to have a little bit of the background story of yours, if you don't mind, for as much as you can share. Though, from my perspective, like I said, it rarely ever happens that you see a true leader. It rarely ever happens that you see a person that is properly built up, to be a leader. And I mean it not only because of the physics, because this guy's absolutely tall and twice as tall as I am. That is muscled up and pumped up, pretty much twice that I am. So, you have to feel respect every time you look pretty much like this into his eyes.
You're much more jacked than me. I'm just tall, bro.
Bro. Yeah, listen, I mean, it's very intimidating for anybody who's not familiar with Fefe, because, I should say, if if I was your enemy, I would scare the shit out of me. Basically, every time I would see you, I would just look in the corners. If it's not you in the street, man, I would take the opposite turns. Fucking just try to be safe. No, but all things, taking on serious note. I mean, I truly appreciate, who you are, man. I mean, we spoke about it so many times, and private, on and off record, you're always the same humble, incredibly experienced and hungry person, right? And hungry, I mean, hungry for growth. So talk to me, where did it all start?
Oh, look, there's so many good things. It's warms my heart what you're saying. Seriously, like I think before I even talk about myself, I just want to say like the way we met as well. Like you are an icon, and I mean it. Like if I, the way I've been in crypto since 2016, I've been trading 2017, 2018, and I remember listening to you back then, and hearing what you have to say, hearing your thoughts, so you've been. It's so interesting because now being here, and you say that I'm humble, and I like to believe that I am that same guy from 2016, but a little bit more knowledge. I know how much it sucks not knowing what to do. So in 2016, I bought my first Bitcoin for $700, and I never left the industry. 2018, I've been trading. It's been a completely different thing. I've been trading on BitMEX. I remember just putting $100 in there. Very big amount for me at the time. And on BitMEX, if you remember, the first leverage exchange, the pre-setting was 100x. Like that was the baseline. And so I remember taking a long position and gone. And I was like, I actually wrote to customer support. I was like, guys, I don't know where my money went, but I just went long here, and in 2 seconds it disappeared. So not knowing all that, went into. I set a goal for myself to make $1 million by the age of 30. And I had no chance at making it. I'm coming from Hungary at poor village, like no chance. And so in 2021, Helium came around. We found Helium. We went in heavy. We were very first deployers. It's a deepened infrastructure, and I made my first million from that, and then lost it all in 2022, 2023, not focusing on the right things. This is my third bull market, and this time, happily, so far, I'm keeping what I'm making, navigating the industry. And for the past 2-3 years, I've been focusing a lot on education, and I realized that how difficult it is to not only navigate the crypto market, but also find the people you can trust. And so you've been a true inspiration for me in that aspect. I think there is not many credible people like you in the space, and I wanna join that camp. And the way we met as well was really that. I think it takes a legend to recognize another. And the way you took me in when I had no followers, no reach, no power, no community, no nothing, and you treated me like basically very few people did. And since then we connected, and I think it's I also want to say that this here is the reason why it's worth doing what I'm doing and what probably you are doing, because it's very rare to sit with someone and that they're not rugging their communities, they're not farming their communities, they're not trying to take it to the slaughterhouse. They're giving you literally everything they know for free or for basically no money comparatively. It's amazing. So that's, and I'm educating people every single day over at Crypto Banter and over at my channel, the 100x Club.
Oh man, you deserve so much more recognition for what you do, and I truly mean it. And I know that you know that I know. And we could go on and fractalize this, but the whole thing is, as a matter of fact, that what do you like? See, it's from imagine you don't have the audience. Imagine you're kind of like you're starting the journey all over again, right? It may happen, that I guess a lot of people that we know from the top of the top, if you will, that they made their way in somehow accidentally and they just stuck by, right? And just stuck with it. But when you, as a matter of fact, want to kind of like just make yourself a room, right? And try to kind of like go and, do the elbows and kind of like just try to make space for you, make room for you. It might be actually very, very difficult, right? Because for someone new, just like you mentioned, whenever everybody, was starting at one point, it takes a little bit of luck, yes, to have a speedway, to kind of like be who you are in terms of, be the leader that you are, to have the presence, to have the following, and so on. It's such a complex matter, right? To have a leadership that you do. And what would you say, like, genuine question, right? What would you say in your growth was the most critical kind of like a moment, like a critical checkpoint milestone that you've achieved, after which, you kind of like skyrocketed?
I think so. It's been interesting because I'm a host on Crypto Banter, and Ren, we both know.
Shout out to Ren. Yeah.
He's the founder and a host on Crypto Banter as well. Crypto Banter has 1.2 million subscribers. Major player in the space, and I've been trading, and trading, you also know, is lonely. Like, if you really trading is lonely. You don't have to talk to people. You don't have to look at things, but it gets lonely. And I've been trading in 2022-3 after I lost everything. I was like, okay, I'm going to make everything back. And I started trading. And so it became very lonely for me, especially going after, talking to people, doing this, doing that. So I was looking for a community, and I joined Banter, and then they had this school that I wanted to run up. And I was like I could help. Like, let's go. I'm trading anyway. Why not just help you? But I haven't worked for anyone since 2018. And so anyway, I went there. It didn't work out. I quit, and I started my YouTube channel. And Ren called me up, and he was like, "Do you want to come to Banter and be a host?" And I was like, "Bro, in my entire life, I bet on myself. I need my channel." So we made a deal. I kept my own channel so I can educate people on there about trading, and then I became a host. And I think that's obviously was one of the biggest decisions I made, because I was able to, also thanks to Ren, but also I believe thanks to my abilities, to stick to the fact that I was betting on myself. The channel had, this is not that discussion, but it was Goliath and David. And I'm going, and Ren is like, "Do you want to come to the biggest media channel on the planet and become a host?" It's like joining Formula One as a driver. And I'm like, "Well, bro, I have a channel with 200 subs. Like, I want to keep that, It's like he didn't believe it. He's like, what are you talking about? But anyway, I bet on myself, and now the 100 Club has 33,000 subs. We've basically grown 200% last year. I want to get to 100,000 this year. And so I think the biggest thing that really happened was the moment people started to really understand that all I'm doing is publicly sharing what I'm doing with my own money. And if I make money, I make money, they make money. If I lose money, they lose money. But they know I do it in a genuine way and on a large enough time frame profitability. I have profitability. I'm profitable. I think that was the major point. And then from there on, just people were coming in, and we're doing the daily updates, and it just took off.
Love it, man. I mean, again, I mentioned that so many times I sound like a broken record, right? But aside from the absolute, respect and admiration I have for you, Fefe, same goes, to Ran from my perspective, right? Because he's another case of a visionary to me, again. And I don't have much interest in kind of like just, making it over sweet for him, but I really mean it, right? And I don't think a lot of people understand and have the awareness what he did before crypto that led him to already an incredible success. And what he's doing with crypto is just an extension of that success. And kind of like, you put the same successful person in a different niche, and they're still going to be successful. They're still going to build empires in whatever shape or fashion, right? Which to some extent brings me back to like a discussion I had with, what was it, like 2 years ago? So there is this Lamborghini club in Poland, right? That I'm part of, and there was like a whole driving experience, something, whatever, kind of like a community gathering, something. And there was an 18-year-old kid, a son of the father of a very large company, like a pretty much monopoly over the country. And Europe, pretty much, they were having like what do you call it, like the cranes, the very big cranes, to build up like the power plants and very like, very, very serious buildings, and not just the developers, on the real estate side. And he asked me, like, the father asked me, like, "Hey bro, like, can you talk to my son about crypto and perhaps, get him, knock this out of his head, right, while he's still young, so that he doesn't follow the wrong path." Because that's frankly, that's what the crypto label has, right? That's a label that crypto has. I mean, people see crypto as FTX, right? They don't see the whole innovation. They don't see the whole, RWA side, with the stable coins, with Larthing, with BlackRock. They don't see it, right? They only see the FTX. And that's why it's stigmatized so often. So I sit down and speak with this kid, very nice, 18-year-old kid, kind of like divagating, okay, should I pursue my like academic degree, or should I just do crypto? And I'm like, it's a very difficult question, right? And all of a sudden, I'm aware that I have responsibility on me for not really pushing in either direction, but helping him discover his own way, if that makes sense, right? And without going, too much into the whole discussion, end of the story was he asked me, if is it going to be better that I pursue like the career, the business, the academic side, or crypto? And as I typically speak out loud, to allow my train of thought, my thought process, kind of like just formulate. I don't have prepared answers for life wisdom and stuff, so I just make up things as I go, try to logically, induce and deduct the stuff. But in the end, Fefe, what the bottom line of that whole thing was, and that speaks, to Ran and to you as well, is that as long as you have the discipline, cliche but true, as long as you have the power, right, in terms of the persistence, you have something worth fighting for, as in the right goal. That is, you can brace it in the smart, specific, measurable, and all this stuff from like project management, but it is universal. And then you have some little bit of common sense, and you keep on using that, putting that all into equation, right? Then any discipline is going to outwork any sort of talent ever, right? So great talent, no work, is always going to be outworked by someone of less talent and more discipline, right? And here's the bottom line. As I concluded, and with this discussion to this guy, it doesn't really matter which path you take. That was my conclusion. It doesn't really matter which path you take. If you go, if I one day I said I wanted to be a doctor, I would really suck as a doctor. I would faint and pass out.
Please don't be a doctor.
No, man, really. If you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a crypto trader, if you want to be, like a working in the banking sector, or you want to be a founder, creator, content creator, YouTuber, as long as you put all of those success factors together and you apply in that particular niche, just like Ran did, in his previous business before crypto, now he's doing in crypto. Now that you're doing it on your ventures, right? Me doing on my ventures. In the end, it leads you in the same path. It leads you in the same, I should say not path, but leads you in the same goal, right? And that's why I'm saying that have massive respect for Ran, because the goal, so to speak, it can be reached in many different pathways, right? And it can be different businesses, can be different things, but as long as you have yourself, like you, Fefe, being, like I said, the person that you particularly are, you're always gonna get what you want, and it doesn't matter if you start, a plumbing company. I know you're gonna be fucking successful in plumbing company, and that's the whole thing. Like, do you know what I mean with this?
Yeah, 100%. A lot of times when people ask me, I probably got this a lot as well. What's the secret to trading? Like there must be like something you're not telling me, and what is the secret? And I always tell the story. You've seen Kung Fu Panda, and in Kung Fu Panda, the story, it goes up and it has this whole paper, and it opens it up, and it's like, and now I'm gonna know what the secret to Kung Fu is, and it's like a mirror. It's like, what? And it's like, it's you, bro. It's you. There is no secret. It's you. And you mentioned discipline, and no matter what you do in life, but specifically in trading, if you don't have discipline, you are toast. Because the market is designed to take everything against you, turn your childhood trauma, bring this up to the surface, and show it to your face, so you react in a way that is not profitable for you. And so you have to combat all that. Trading is not learning. I can give you, trade the RSI on the weekly time frame, take 2 trades a year, and you're gonna be profitable. Like it's a no-brainer. That's not what trading is. Trading is learning about yourself and understanding your strengths and weaknesses, and using that to your advantage, and mastering it to a level where self-mastery becomes you. Basically, you become the master of yourself and your mind. And also going back to one more thing, what you said about talent and not talent. And a lot of people tell me, yeah, but I actually had a mother telling me this not so long ago. They're like, oh, but my kid is so lazy and he's not going to do, and he doesn't have the talent and all that stuff. Like, I had to fire one of my people. I hate firing people. But I had an editor here in the team, and he's the best editor I've ever met in my life. Like, he's so talented, but he's lazy and he doesn't have the work ethic. And I told him, bro, the reason why I don't think you're going to be successful if you don't change this is because it's 20% talent and 80% work. The 20% talent can be replaced with 80% work. But if you don't have the 80% of work, it doesn't matter that you have a 20% talent. Someone with 80% work, but only 3% talent will win every single time. So it's all about the work, all about the discipline, all about what you put in. And the output is going to be based on that as well.
Oh yeah. And here, shout out to my parents. Because they were the people who actually forced me, to learn the discipline. As in, they always said, do homework first, then go and play out. I was like, why? Well, of course, there's this resistance. You want to do the fun things, but don't want to go through all the pain and hassle, which, in the end is seems like the inevitable answer to solving crypto, right? And as we have the whole agenda for everybody, because you can pretty much tell that Fefe and I, we could talk about it like for days and we would not run out of the topics. But okay, we are, what is it, 25th November, all right? 25th November, there's like a month and like 6 days left until the year's end, all right? So the year is like, I know. So the year is like 90
Next
something.
week is December, bro. Next week is December.
so it's literally like the pretty much the dead end of the year. We've been through like all the possible storms that you can imagine this year, right? We've been through Trump presidency, which was supposed to be the savior, pretty much our savior. That turned out to be the peak of top of the meme coin cycle that made people invest in Trump and Melania, and then everybody got absolutely nuked, wrecked, as much as you can handle. And then we had trade wars in April, and the story rolled over. It was like absolute carnage, depression, like everything that you can imagine, really bad. The companies would go off the table. The biggest chains would evaporate all of a sudden. People would really like. At that time, people were already depressed, all right? And now, 10 out of 10, 10 of October, if you will, right? 10 out of 10 crash that happened, wiped out, like already decimated retail. And then we had a 37% slide of Bitcoin. So what's the gist of 2025? How do you take 2025? How do you make sense of this? Like, how did you survive this, man?
Oh, look, on the January 20th, I had a tweet. And in that January 20th is the inauguration in the States. So it's the inauguration for Trump. And on that day, I made a tweet that said 2025 will be traders' paradise and holders' hell. Bookmark this. And if you look back, it was. If you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a good example because it's not that wrecked. But if you look at Bitcoin last December, we're lower than we were last December. Yes, we had a bump to like 125, sure, but like year-to-year performance for Bitcoin is negative. And so I think this year, so if you are joining in, if anybody's watching, joining in a newcomer to crypto, you are not a ludicrous, okay? You're not crazy. This is not normal what happened this year. This has been the most difficult market I've ever had to trade. This has been the most difficult market I ever had to navigate. I gave back millions in profits because I held too long. I invested in the wrong thing. I got robbed, scammed, like all that stuff. Thank God I didn't get hacked. I hope I won't. But like everything else on the spectrum, this year has been really, really challenging. But I also think, and this can be also a little bit of a cliche, but sunshine comes after the storm. When there is a storm, you will see the sunshine, you will see the rainbow, and light comes after dark. And that is specifically true now, I believe. I genuinely believe 2026, we didn't really have a bull market. We had a president and we had an ETF kind of pump on Bitcoin and some narrative runs AI agents, meme coins. But in general, if you look at any token from 2021, all down. 99% of the major tokens down. Ripple is at the same price it was 7 years ago. Ethereum, same. Like if you look at these coins that are like the things that are going to change the world. But also it's very important to know, and a lot of people say, oh, the 4-year cycle is stale here and whatever. The reason why I don't agree with that, multiple reasons, but one of the major reasons why I believe 2026 will be one of the biggest opportunities you can have, and it doesn't start in 2026, but it starts today, is because there are so many catalysts coming up that if you look at the market was constructing in the past, like we had monetary policy, crazy tightening with 4.5% interest in the US. We had no regulation clarity, none basically. And we had a government the previous years that was attacking crypto at every level they could. There was no innovation. There was no regulation around the globe. There were no treasury companies to the level that we have now. There was no government reserves. And then we spice that up with 2026 when there is the big, beautiful bill coming. Trillions will be printed. JP, Jerome Powell, the Fed chair, will be out of office finally in May. Rate cuts will go down 50%. $7 trillion sitting in money markets that are just waiting for that to happen, and they have to move that money. If just a couple of percent ripples down to crypto, we're talking hundreds of billions of dollars that will flow into crypto that will push everything else. We have the Clarity Act coming up. So there are so many catalysts for me to be bearish and say the 4-year cycle is still here and we're gonna bottom in September 2026. No, I think that I think, and I also tweeted this, that Bitcoin can hit $200,000 to $300,000 by the end of next year. I genuinely believe that, and I think the opportunity is now. And anybody who leaves now, and that's the whole purpose. You will see. There is a saying that says, "Today we separate the boys from the men," and that's gonna happen. That is happening now. 2025 was to separate the boys from the men, and the men will make generational wealth in 2026, and the boys will go back and buy the top again.
Oh man, there are so many things, because funny thing about the market is that lets every single market participant, like those hundreds of thousands and millions of traders, basically all at the same time, to make it out of the market, exactly what they want, or more likely what the mind tells them. And so many people, by looking at exactly the same chart, are going to see completely different things, right? And in the end, that's the whole beauty of that. And this is also why we have, so much noise and so much choppiness in the market and so much ranging environment. However, that this whole, from my perspective, this whole bull market, if you will, since 2023, right? I mean, again, me being the CMT, I try to prioritize, the data over my own kind of like my mind clarity, if that makes sense, right? You could also say that I've become emotionally numb. I mean, now these days, after losing so much, after getting hacked, robbed, scammed, exit, rag pulled, like every single thing, this thick book of just my own mistakes I'll ever write, I've become emotionally numb. I mean, I don't confuse it with depression, right? But so many people would say, okay, like it's only that you are so emotionally numb that you just don't care. It's like, you don't care what happens, right? And here, I genuinely don't care, simply because I've been able to practice that to an extent that I'm here not really allowing the mind, to take over so much, which in the end, by using the data and factoring the data, is something that over the long term helps outperform, or I should say relatively outperform, vast majority of the traders, right? So with that in mind, the last 2-3 years, since November 2022, right after the FTX, that bottom out, kind of like the whole bear market, 15,500s. I remember that very well, just like you remember, the day in November, of miners' capitulation. I was on the plane back, from Vegas back then, and I departed Vegas. It was 6,000, and I arrived in Poland. It was like 3,000, 3,500, and I'm like, what the hell? That was an expensive flight, right? But that aside. Ever since we bottomed out 15,500s, there was this flat kind of like 200-day moving average. We broke above it. I say, okay, there is this trend shift. There is something changing, right? So January, February 2023, roll out the post. Now that went viral, and I said, okay, based on the technical analysis, like the volatility shift, the percentage traveled, like, and so on, Bitcoin made a pump like 65%. So how likely is it that Bitcoin as a 500, 600, 700 billion asset, accidentally pumps 67%? I say not so much likely to my likes, right? But whatever. So I say the bear market is over from the technical point of view. Ever since we went up pretty much, 8x on top of this, and that's fair. But everything else, right? It was completely different in terms of like all the altcoins. There was no hype. Or the whole situation felt to me, in retrospective, as in driving on like a flat tire, as if you caught a flat tire and you are driving on a flat tire and you are just praying, okay, let me just reach home, let me just reach the destination, right? And then there's another flat tire that kind of like popped in, right? And then you all of a sudden you're driving on 2 flat tires instead of 4. And then, like 2025 comes and then another flat tire. And all of a sudden you're just, driving this fucking crash car of a wreck, just barely making it, alive. And here we are into something that theoretically looks like a 2026 calendar bear market that it typically would happen. I agree that there are a lot of factors that hadn't been there before, right? And quite honestly, I can see as many reasons in favor of 2026 bear market as many reasons for not to be a bear market, right? Because it seems that, just like you say, 2025 has been this type of a market where if it wasn't for Bitcoin, everything else is pretty much in a bear market, unquestionable. By holding altcoins,
if it wasn't for Trump,
Yeah.
if it wasn't for Trump and wasn't for the ETFs, everything would be probably down.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it is.
Yeah. So same thing for everybody who's watching and listening. If you think about it, is also happening on the stock market, because except for the Magnificent Seven that Donald Trump invited and hosted at a table, that you saw the video when he made the Mark Zuckerberg say like, okay, Mark, so how much money are we gonna give it next week? Spend it, and he says 600-700 billion. And then all of a sudden, and Tom, of Apple, like how much are you gonna get? So the Magnificent Seven was there. And they are 35-36% of the total market cap of S&P 500, and that's
people still don't understand that. That's crazy, guys. That means that seven companies carry about 1/3 of the entire S&P, the largest index in the US. It's crazy.
Yeah. And on that note, like some people may ask, okay, what does it mean? Well, it means, first of all, that if you are part of the insider circle of Trump, that there was this very aggressive business, the art of the deal, right? That that was imposed. Those are the only companies that pumped lately. This is what kept the index kind of like up, but everything else, pretty much on the consumer discretionary, as in the people that choose what they want versus what they need, or I should say, that's the discretionary. The discretionary were down. The food market is down, and I give you an example. Wendy's. Those are two of my favorite examples. Fefe. Have you looked at the Wendy's chart or the Chipotle chart, Mexican Grill?
On what?
On have you looked at these charts lately?
No.
So, let me check. So I'm gonna bring it on in a second, but long story short, it's 50% down each, right? On the bull market. So the S&P's new highs, mainly driven by this Magnificent Seven, but the food market, people cannot afford cheeseburgers, man. People cannot fucking afford a cheeseburger. Wendy's is 50% down year to date. Chipotle is down.
Okay. No, I haven't. Oh, really? Oh, wow. For some reason, I thought Polymarket, and I was like, I didn't understand. But now I understand what you're saying.
Chipotle is down 48% year to date. So see, that's exactly the same thing that's happening in Bitcoin and altcoins. There's absolute discrepancy, right? And the Magnificent Seven is in a bull, and it makes it look good because it's 37% of the weight, or 36% of the weight. And everything else is pretty much there. And you had two Hindenburg comment, right, last month, which to some extent maybe a meme, right? But what it truly transpires is that there's this very much underlying breadth weakness and money flow kind of like discouragement, right? That basically confirms this whole situation that we're looking at a massive domino. And you saw what was happening with Nvidia, right? Everybody was looking at Nvidia reporting earnings, and if it happened to be a miss. Right, this would be like the domino. You know what I mean?
Bro, I had a tweet. I said, I wish I could find it now, but I literally wrote like, let me say it loud enough so people in the back can hear. If Nvidia misses earnings, Bitcoin goes down 10 to 12% in the next 3 days. Like, it would have been catastrophic for the market. Also important, 35% of the Magnificent Seven, sure, but Nvidia alone is 7.5%. Now probably like it's getting hammered, but probably between 7.5%. Of the S&P. That's crazy. That's like, you've seen these memes where the entire world economy and then Nvidia with Jensen is just standing like this, So, but I just want to filter in here a little bit, because a lot of people are in disbelief of 2026, right? And I think one of my major invalidations is if a market crash on the stock market does not happen, because if you look at the $7 trillion sitting on the sideline, they need to get in. Now, these guys are not going to top blast the S&P and the Nasdaq. They just simply won't. So they need to artificially create a market crash so they can buy everything cheaper. And doing that with manipulating 7 stocks alone that were at the same table with Trump, it's so easy. It's so easy. So, and Michael Burry actually picks it up because I think the whole thing comes together because he's saying the markets are cooked. You know what I mean? And so or the books are cooked, and the books are cooked most likely. So we don't know how deep it goes, but I just believe that there has to be a market crash, at least a 10-15% between now and April. And when that happens, that's the time when this money will start flowing into preparing for JP's leave, and then the whole thing is just gonna rally. That's what I believe, at least. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. You see the Wendy's chart, by the way? This is the yearly chart. So if you take it, year to date, and if we take it for the performance, basically, it's literally 47% down, right?
Crazy.
If you take it for Chipotle, right, which is why I think it's way worse than what many people expect, because it's nicely, it has nice cosmetics on, so to speak, so that you don't see it, right? But like 40, 45, 46% down, and again, we're talking like just go to candlesticks, see what was happening, man. Like 2 gaps wide of missed earnings, basically, of like 50, what was it, like 20%, right? 2 gaps like that over the last couple of months. So all things concerned, it's pretty crazy to an extent that it takes one stock of Magnificent Seven probably to start this whole avalanche, to start this whole domino effect that is gonna easily just put everything else in a bear market that already spins in a bear market, right? Same, which is what makes me think, and again, that predictions are different than making money, right? Being right or making money is 2 different things. And there's an excellent book about it. I keep repeating that. It's by Ned Davis, not NDR research, Ned Davis research, OG, kind of like an old school fund that combines and blends fundamental analysis and technical analysis. They use the macro context, like the unemployment and the ISM index, the new orders, like the inflation, of course, and so on, liquidity, and blends this with MACD, with RSI, the market timing. And they have this absolutely great book, Being Right or Making Money. And those are two different things. They're 2 different things, right? You can be right and lose shitloads of money. You can be wrong and win really a lot. So with that in mind,
for myself.
With that in mind, talk to me real quick about what you found, Fefe, personally to be your best kind of like strategies, your winning narratives. Why they succeeded?
Do I see do I see your screen now?
Yeah, we can pop up yours.
Oh, nice. Okay, now I see you. Okay. No, so yeah, I think so. I've been trading. That's oh no, you can just pull us up. We can also show charts, but I rather just elaborate in general because I think it's a big one. And the tweet that I made on January 20th regarding the fact that it's going to be traders heaven and holders hell. This is January 20th. If you are a long-term investor, so many things to say here. One of them is I had a big debate with Ren Nona, who is the founder of Crypto Banter, and he's a host and he's a multi-cycle investor. Yes, but Ren is sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars. So if you have $5,000, I mean, good luck holding that into 20 million. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to say and I would say 95 to 99% of my audience as well, to say, hey, just buy Bitcoin like you and me, buy Bitcoin, fine. 5 years is going to be 5x, 10x, I'm happy. But if you have $5,000 to invest or less to invest, in my world, it's ludicrous to just buy Bitcoin with the whole thing and wait it out, because best case scenario, Bitcoin goes to $2 million and you make a 20x on your money. It sounds like a lot of money. And yes, you're going to have like, $100,000, but it's not a lot of money. It is a lot of money for a lot of people, but in general, $100,000 now is not a life. Like in Hungary, where I'm from, you can't buy an apartment for that money. So that means that you need to start looking for alternatives, whether that alternative is trying to my community. I also share some of the early investments that I make into projects, and a lot of KOs do this in a shilly way. They don't disclose whatever. I actually invest in projects as well. Like I know that you guys also consult a lot of projects that are legit, that are great, that are building, and it's a VC model. You put $200. Me personally, I had multiple projects where I put $200 in it, and I pulled out 50,000. You know, it happens. It's rarely happening, and 99% of them loses. But when you hit one home run, it brings back everything. This is what the VCs have done for decades now. This is normal. This is the foundation of Wall Street. You find companies coming, or not Wall Street, so Silicon Valley. So we find companies, you fund these companies, 99% will fail, but then there will be the 1% or 5% that survives and becomes a unicorn. So that there are multiple ways of going at it. One, in crypto, there is no other industry in the world where you can make this amount of money. No, none. It's non-existent, in my opinion. So of course, do you see me or you see my screen?
I see both of you. The screen and you.
If you put us back, I want to see you. I want to see you as well. If you can put us back, so I see you as well. I see you in tiny corner on the bottom. Can you put your back full screen so I see you? Oh, amazing. Thank you. So I think, of course, the returns diminish if you look at the overall market. Yes, you're probably not going to make 100x on Bitcoin in the next 5 years, but in the next 30 years, in the next 20 years, you do have the potential of making that. But the problem is then you come back and people sitting with $2,000 or $5,000, they say, holy shit, if 100x, $500,000, that's amazing. Yeah, but 20 years from now, $500,000 is going to pay for a loaf of bread, you know? So you have to calculate all that stuff in, but multiple ways going at it. One, early stage. Invest in risky shit. Take 5% of your capital, 2% of the capital, 10% of the capital, depending on the younger you are, the bigger the percentage should be. The younger you are, when you were 20, I thought I ruled the world. And we're not old. You're older than me, but I'm 32.
Speak for yourself, bro.
I'm 32. And when I was 20, I ruled the world, bro. I knew everything. I was like done. Classic. You know, I was like
classic.
And then the older you get, the stupider you get, the more you learn, the less you know. And so that's the same here. If you're young, you're 20s, and you somehow made $2,000 and your parents telling you, put that away, make sure you don't lose it, put it in a checking account or what is a saving account, make 4% a year, and that's going to compound. I have the book here. Tony Robbins. I don't want to go there because I'm fired up, but Tony Robbins. I love the book. Money. Right? Mastery. I love the book. It's a thick fucking book, 700 pages. I read the whole thing and I've thrown it out because it's not applicable in this world. You can't do this. You can't compound as you could. And so invest that. The second for me is trading. And there are so many gurus. And this is why I appreciate you so much from the beginning, because you're open, you're teaching people, you're truly changing the game. CMT, I don't even have to, I think I don't even have, especially not to your community, but that's like some serious shit. You know what I mean? You can make a fortune trading. A fortune. You just have to put in the effort. First 5 years, probably going to make $0 or you're going to be in debt. Fine. Because that's the process. And this is why only 0.23% of the traders make it, because they quit. It's not because they look for everybody starts out with, oh my God, this dude is pulling 100,000 profit. I can make it in a day. No problem. And you start trading and you wreck your account. Okay, let's start again. And then you start again, and you liquid it again. And then you start again, you liquid it again. And then you realize that, okay, it's probably not, I'm doing something wrong. And you start learning about yourself. So the second for me is trading, like really focus on trading. And the third is, if you have a 401k, if you are sitting in a 401k or retirement fund, now the structure, especially with the Clarity Bill coming in, it allows for you, even in Europe, you can invest in MicroStrategy through your retirement fund. What the freak are you doing holding your money in your 401k, buying assets and indexes that appreciate 5 to 10% a year in a good case scenario? Why would you do that? So invest. If you have money that is sitting aside, I told my parents to sell their house, sell your house and invest it. What is that house going to go up another 100% in the next 10 years? Good. Then what? Bitcoin's going to go up 10x. You know, so I think if you have money, these are the three options that I would look at making money. One, Look at Go Degen. You have so much content. AI, make ChatGPT and Perplexity and Grok your best friend. I talk to ChatGPT. I bring it up in the car. I literally just put it on. I put it on and talking, and it's my therapist. I have a chat for therapy. I have a chat for family. I have a chat for whatever, and just talk to it. Just sit in the car. You're riding the bus every day. Just talk to ChatGPT. Hey, I want to start trading. Tell me about it. Tell me psychology. Tell me investment. I have $20,000 in my 401k. I want to do something with it. How should I invest it? What should I look at? And start learning. And so you start going into the trenches. You start understanding Pump Fund. I hate Pump Fund from the perspective of they extract so much from this business, but they're genius. Genius.
Oh yeah.
They spent $1 billion. They did it well. You know what they did with the profits? They converted it into freaking cash. And what they did is they launched the token and they got $2 billion extra. So they're sitting in $3 billion in cash because they did it right. They didn't invest in the future and whatever. They are utilizing that money now, and they are going to invest when it's the right time. So go into the trenches.
Smart.
You can make money. You can lose a lot as well, but going back to the VC and learn trading. Learn trading if you want to be in crypto. Learn because it is draining. I remember, and you probably have a lot of stories as well, that sitting there at 1 a.m. got liquidated. And I have a little one on me, the family, I have bills to pay. And I'm just sitting there and what am I even doing with my life? And again, going back to separating the men from the boys, that's the moment. You go, screw this. Or you just say, you know what? F you. I'm going to take this fight on. I'm going to look into the mirror, stare into my own face and be like, you are a stupid idiot for doing this because you don't follow your structures. You don't have discipline. You don't wake up in the morning. You don't do ice bath. You don't even eat healthy. You know you shouldn't smoke the cigarette, but you smoke it anyway. All that stuff.
Yep.
Just discipline. You can achieve anything in life. Anything.
Oh yeah, man. Wow. What a talk, what a statement, bro. I mean, we're gonna script it down and just put it out in some nice format for everybody. It's very inspiring to me, even though I've been here, for a couple of years, just as long as you had. And it seems that, well, if you go deep, and well, we are not gonna go deep because we have about 10 minutes left, but if you go deep, I mean, for the future, for everybody who's watching and listening, of course, that process of going deep, that process of discovery of exactly what Fefe is mentioning here is exactly what takes you places, right? And it doesn't have to be like 100%. There are no holy grails. It's impossible to achieve the ideals. It's impossible to. You can only strive for it. You can only go and chase your ideals. But the whole thing that really matters, except for reaching, catching this ideal, is really the whole the whole journey, right? Because, and again, cliche but true, right? It's honestly true that the whole process of you getting better is way more meaningful than you just accomplishing the very cherry on the top of the cake, like the icing on the top of the cake, the very final 0.5% of whatever the whole thing mattered. So what really mattered is the 99.5% that you actually did. Right? This is what encompasses, this is what encapsulates like the vast majority of whatever you wanted to accomplish. Rest is just a little bit of a nice, selfish, egocentric treatment saying, okay, I did it. I can now just chill in my Lambo and someone take me a picture and then you lock it in and go home, right? And that's it. But that's the whole thing, right? And when you have your priorities upside down and you actually strive for proving something, something that you are not to the world outside, right? And just trying to pretending that you are someone who you are not, and then trying to have the priorities, like I said, upside down, then this is why so many people get broke, man. I mean, that's on one thing, because it still takes some courage to start something, to start a business. It does, right? But what I mean is that the reason why so few people make it, the reason why there's only like one Elon Musk, like one Fefe, there's only one Michael Saylor. Like, there are a lot of bald people with beard, right? That's a trend. That's a trend these days. But what I mean is that that's the whole journey. When I'm looking at Fefe, everybody, I know that I'm looking at a man with a whole past, with a whole journey, with a whole bunch of acceptance and the work that's been done on his own, by his own, to place him where he is. And with this state of awareness, basically, with all the fuck ups that he mentioned that you and I had, with all the victories and successes that we all had, only then you can take it all together, kind of like, and just not let it go into vain, if that makes sense. because the moment you kind of like start, like I said, flip your priorities upside down, this is where everything burns. This is where everything starts collapsing. This is where, you kind of like all of a sudden start assuming that it's the market that is wrong, not me, right? I'm not wrong. The 8 billion people are wrong. I'm the only person right in the whole fucking world, which is of course not true. And us deviating against from truth is going to cost us heavy mistakes and heavy money losses. So with a couple of minutes left, if I want to have you kind of like just have your brain a little bit, what's you mentioned 2026, but what's it going to look like from your perspective?
2026?
Yeah.
So we touched up on it, but I can't be on the camp of the 4-year cycle is still here, and we're gonna go into a massive bear market. The only reason why I can't is because okay, so it's again predictions, right? I think if you look at what is coming in terms of liquidity, in terms of regulatory clarity, in terms of the US really moving forward with everything they do, not just crypto, but in general, AI, you can look at really the rate cuts, you can look at the 7 trillion we talked about, the big, beautiful bill, the midterm elections happening, like all the stuff. I would be extremely surprised if we don't have a massive rally next year. Now, whether that rally comes from, I don't think Bitcoin is going under 50K, but whether that rally comes from Bitcoin is at 10K and then we rally for 90, I don't know. But I think the opportunity next year is just going to be phenomenal. I think that the everything we did here was in a bad environment. Everything for crypto was happening in a bad environment. So yes, we made money and this and that, and a lot of people actually lost money. But in general, it wasn't a bad environment. There were tightening monetary. QT stops next Monday, by the way. So next Monday is December 1st, I think, or it's December already. And next week, December 1st, QT stops. That doesn't mean a quantitative tightening in the US. It doesn't mean that they will start printing money tomorrow and whatever, but it's a signal for the end to a tightening monetary policy, which means every single time in the history when this happened and we had quantitative neutrality and then we went into quantitative easing, every single asset, especially risk assets, has rallied massively. And that's going to happen next year with a great foundation, again, with all the regulatory certainty and clarity and all that. So I would expect insane opportunities next year. And I think it's worth sticking around and just being here in crypto.
Oh yeah, man. Well, you somehow landed on the very on a very convenient place because it's easy to cut the show and just to wrap it. However, before we do, I wanted to get you a little bit, Brian, on the last final question. And what's the, again, you being Hungarian and me being Polish, there is this very famous Polish Hungarian love that I think there are a lot of reasons for it in the past. Though in the end, I have a lot of admiration and love for all the Hungarian people. I wish I could speak Hungarian, but it's a very, very nice language. What's the situation for 2026? Do you expect anything good, any tailwinds that would happen for crypto adoption within your kind of like a Hungarian neighborhood, so to speak?
I'm not really active in Hungary. There is a specific reason for that, but I'm not really
I know.
in the market. I think in general, MiCA itself, as the regulatory framework in Europe, is rippling down to the country level. We see a lot of regulation, a lot of good and a lot of bad. I think we'll see more and more, and I think countries need us. Countries need people like you. That what we see on a lot of levels is that there are people sitting on top that are basically forced to make a regulatory framework because the EU regulation, the MiCA compliance, forces them to do so, but they don't know what they're doing. And so there will be a lot of uncertainty when it comes to that. But at the end, again, off the dark comes light. And I think that we're going to end up, especially I think the US leading the way. I have a hope that the governments will make the right decisions and they're gonna regulate with a supportive approach and not a choke point approach. And if that happens, innovation can flourish. And I'm very bullish again on every single level in 2026, and I hope that it's going to play out as is. And also, I want to just say that as well. It's also one of the things that I say a lot is that I think Bitcoin itself is decoupling from crypto. I think we're going to see Bitcoin being more of like an index, a tech stock that can have just an up only, obviously, with the stock market. We've seen Tesla being down 60% or whatever, and all that. But even the S&P beginning of the year, 20-25%, Nasdaq same. So we will have corrections, but I do believe Bitcoin has decoupled from this. Let me rephrase this. If Bitcoin goes down 80% ever again, I will lose massive faith in the industry, because I think we matured enough to not have those 80% drawdowns on Bitcoin specifically. Altcoins will rather be like the penny stock, I think, penny stocks where you will go and there will be different narrative running. And, when we're going to have regulations, so perp dexes now, right? So I think perp dex is going to be interesting coming into next year and the years ahead. Privacy is going to be a big thing. Regulated private, compliant privacy. Zcash is interesting from that perspective, because you can have a private chain, but then you can also be compliant. You can just switch and actually prove that these transactions come from a certain place. So you can be compliant while you can be private. So I think there are going to be different narratives that will run, which will be super interesting. But overall, I think that Bitcoin is decoupling, and the altcoin market is going to be an opportunity to make life-changing gains going forward as well. You just have to find the right opportunities and the right people to follow. So this is, I think, why it's super amazing that you're doing what you're doing.
And speaking of whom, you definitely want to follow Fefe on Twitter, on X. Make sure you go and follow @FefeDemeny, which is DEMENY. Fefe Demeny, exactly this. That's to say it's a rising star would be an understatement. I mean, he's already risen way above anything measurable from my perspective. But he keeps on going. He keeps on delivering, and that's exactly how you know that he's a true leader. He's a true visionary, and he's gonna be here with you for you in 2026. I can guarantee that from my perspective. And what I can say is definitely that all this admiration, all this love, man, I have for you, all this respect. This show just proves it even more and better and deeper of how strong of a personality you are. And thank you for that. I mean, we need more Fefes in the world, man.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I think rounding it up as well. And I want to say this because I don't say it a lot as well, but I truly appreciate you. I think there is very few, especially now we'll see who has their pants down. When the market is crashing, you will see who has stopped doing shows. I've been doing shows every single day on the 100x Club, no matter if the market is down, no matter if I got stopped, no matter what. I think it's very important to really surround yourself with the people who really are there to make a difference and not there to milk their communities. And I appreciate you for being that, and also just really for all the support you've been given from the very beginning. And I'm really looking forward. We have to do some in real life events as well. Appreciate you. This is just the beginning. It's gonna be exciting.
Love it so much. And full truth, full credit goes towards you. I remember this picture that he posted. I think they checked you out of the hotel or something. They wouldn't let you check in, and you were just somewhere there on the bench with the laptop on, just setting up the whole shit happens. But see, that's a discipline, right? No matter what happens, no matter conditions, you just keep on going, keep on delivering, and that's exactly why we love you, man. I mean, thank you so much for your time. And before we log out real quick, for everybody, this is the last session that we had for the day 2 of Trading Congress, for the 7th edition of Trading Congress. And if you haven't joined yet, there's a whole bunch of people, already inside of our Discord. We have also, beside like 99.9% of free content all around flying, there is a special gated community that, guess what? With all the Trading Congress participants, you get it all for free. So all you need to do is just go ahead and click the link in the description, and you're going to be there. And there's a special link also for everybody who's a member of the Trading Congress. You guys are eligible for early bird Black Friday discount, because Black Friday are coming up. So if you wish to stay secure, get some strategies on and stuff, you're going to be able to get it pretty much lessly, or I should say a very, very, very low price tags. But that's that's for you. And everybody, I've been your host, Adrian Zdunchuk, CMT, Charter Market Technician, CryptoBurb, joined by the legend, the man himself, Fefe. Thanks so much, bro. It's been absolute blast.
Absolute pleasure.
God bless everybody.